How's it going, everybody? It's Prod here, and welcome back to another video where we will be talking about the new Elden Ring 1.14 patch. This just dropped about 2 hours ago, probably a little bit longer since it's going to take me a little bit to edit this one and stuff, but this is a new update, and we got a couple of big changes here. Now, you see one big one right here. If you haven't beat the DLC yet, I would suggest you maybe skip to this specific time code, because that's when I'm going to be done talking about this, because it is big. Alright, so Redon has been patched. Now that's going to be big controversy, I think, for sure. So what they did with him was they changed the action pattern when the battle starts, so I'm going to assume that he's not instantly going to rush you and smack the shit out of you. Now that's just my assumption, considering that's instantly what he does, even though in my opinion, that was always one of the easier moves to dodge and instantly go into a couple of your own hits, or it could be as well the start of the second phase. I unfortunately have not had any time to test it myself and haven't really seen much footage of it. Adjusted some attack moves, decreased the damage of some attacks, decreased stamina damage of some attacks, which means that shield poke builds are going to be even stronger now, decrease the attack range of some non-weapon based attacks, and improve the visibility on some attack effects. Now that last one is a big one. I think the last one really is one of those that I kind of agree with, and I feel like when I first fought Redon was one of my only complaints, where it's just so incredibly difficult to see stuff in that boss fight. When it comes to the light effects, when it comes to all the different special effects with Miquella's hair and his own gravity attacks and the phantoms. Apparently people are saying that the phantoms that kind of have an after image are pretty much gone, which is one of the big things that was messing with the visibility in that boss fight. So depending on how much easier it actually made the fight, I think this is a pretty good change, to be honest. Decreasing the attack range on some non-weapon based attacks. I'm going to assume they're talking a lot about the rock attacks. Maybe Miquella's light attack was made a little bit smaller or something like that. Nothing too crazy, but I do feel decreasing the damage of his attacks, decreasing the stamina damage on some of his attacks. I think it's a little much, and I get it, right? A lot of people were struggling. A lot of people did not like this boss. I personally really liked the boss. I thought he was a really good challenge for the DLC. It's interesting to see them kind of go and nerf it, especially 2 patches, 3 patches into the DLC, considering most people have gotten through, which is good, which is maybe what they wanted. They wanted the people who are going to persevere and actually, attack the boss and go through the boss and want that challenge to actually beat the boss, and give people some time before all that's really left are the people who just straight up quit or cannot beat the boss and don't really want to try anymore. Now they have the chance to come back and actually give the boss a good go. But it's kind of funny that Redon is at this point the only boss who has been nerfed twice in his prime form and in his original form, which is, an achievement for him. He's gonna get the world record for that one, the Guinness Book of World Record. Maybe we could put him in there. But next up, we have a lot of the PvP exclusive balances, which I do think there are actually a couple of good ones. Decrease the damage of backhand blades against other players. The Smith script circuits throwing attacks are not affected by this change, which is good because those things are not that great anyways. But this is fantastic. I'm glad that they're sort of putting their foot down a little bit on the backhand blades, because yes, they have been nerfed a little bit, especially mainly the Ashes of War, but they are very strong, especially in invasions. These things, when you have 1 or 2 people who are using these weapons, are absolute killers. So I'm kind of happy to see that. Decrease the damage of Spear's dual wield attacks against other players. Another beautiful change, especially for an invader, because you run into a lot of people, and I'd imagine people who are doing a lot of arena duels are probably still running into a lot of dual spear users. So the fact that these are getting nerfs is real nice. Decrease the damage of the paddle weapons against other players. I did recently use them, and yes, they were very strong and built up a lot of damage real quick. And I was actually surprised to hear that these are some of the weapons that people were finding the most annoying. So, there you go, an actual nerf for these weapons that a lot of people were finding pretty annoying. The spread crossbow weapon will no longer cause the headshot damage motion when hitting another player, which is good. That's a change that you're going to see with a couple different things that you have on the patches here, which is good. I think getting hit by a lot of these different animations and getting staggered by a headshot is really annoying, especially, again, I'm always going to go back to my invasion side, right? When you have 3 people chasing you and one guy hits you with this and staggers you for like an extra second, allowing these 2 guys to jump on you, always very annoying. Now we have a nerf for scatter shot throw, decreased damage against other players, which I will say you don't really see too often, but whenever you do see it, yes, it does do a ton of damage. So that's a pretty decent change. The skill will no longer cause the headshot damage motion when hitting another player, which is, you know, similar to this. It's good because if somebody's just spamming it, it's really annoying to get hit by like one little dagger and then just get this stupid ass headshot damage motion where you're staggered like you got headshotted. Discus hurl, decrease the damage animation value generated by this skill when hitting another player. Now, I do love the Captain America throw on the shield. It was one of my favorite things from like the first time using it, and I did use it and have I think one video on where I used it quite a bit. But yes, it did do quite a bit of damage, especially for something that's so easy to just literally just continuously keep tossing and does very little, you know, have very little FP usage and is just so fast and kind of annoying. It's a pretty decent change. Wheat Cutter, decrease the poise value of follow-up attacks when using the skill against other players. Now, okay, Wheat Cutter is very, very strong, but I feel like that was one of the good things about it, you know, the fact that sometimes, yeah, you could kind of spam it, and the only people who are really going to get hit by it are people who just stay in one spot and just continuously try to attack you. This was the nice thing about it, right? You would just outpoise them and just go right through them and are able to cut them down, which I think, you know, kind of the name implies that that's what it's supposed to be. So as much as I think this is probably still going to be pretty decent, hopefully it's not too much of a poise decrease. Hopefully it's still usable and it actually is worth doing more than one attack, because that's kind of the whole point of it, right? Now we have general balances for different equipments. Now these are going to be pretty nice that you're going to see in some of these. Increase the attack speed of uncharged versions of the first heavy attack for the following weapons, and it's basically every single weapon. So improved right trigger attacks, which is really good. This is one that I'm excited to see because there's going to be a lot of combos coming out of stuff. Maybe some that are going to be kind of scary. I think that within the next couple of days, within the next few weeks, I think a lot of people are going to be finding some infinite combos. The way this game works, I guess, is infinite combos aren't super common like they were in like Dark Souls 3, but you're going to find some combos that are just going to do some ridiculous damage, and I could already maybe see a few of them. Making R2s actually viable, especially for some like colossal swords, is going to be really, really good. For anything that is a poke, R2 is going to be really damn good as well. Going to have some amazing follow-up attacks, especially like roll catches and stuff like that. I'm excited about that one. After performing left-hand attacks with weapons of the Great Katana category, canceling into subsequent attacks using the right-handed weapons will now take longer. So essentially, I know that a lot of people are using these as like really good combinations for weapons. I'm assuming, considering by the wording, I never tried it myself, but you had really fast follow-up attacks when using a Great Katana in your left hand with your right hand. So the fact that that got nerfed a little bit goes to show that at least somebody made a video or something about it and was just dominating with it. So I could see that being a nerf of something they want to take care of. Hand-to-hand art weapon types increase damage and shorten the recovery time between some normal attacks and follow-up attacks. Now this is kind of when you start seeing some of the cool stuff that maybe we're going to see some really awesome combos, including mixing this with this, the fact that you have shorter R2s and faster R2s. I like that a lot. I'm interested to see how much increased damage we get for the hand-to-hand art weapons, especially because I think like the regular R1 attacks, it was needed, especially in PvP, it was needed quite badly. Shorten the recovery time between some normal attacks and follow-up attacks is also going to be cool. It should provide at least some cool combos that weren't available to us before. So I like that change a lot because I'm actually a big fan of the hand-to-hand art weapons. I still think they're pretty damn good. Colossal weapon types increase the move distance when attacking, So I'm assuming R1s now are going to have maybe a little step forward, similar to, if you guys remember in Dark Souls 3, whenever you had the third hit with the maces, you kind of had that extra step forward. I hope it's something like that. Increase the speed of the first normal attack, which is beautiful, man. Like, Colossal Swords getting some love. You love to see it, because while I do think that they are commonly used, they could be way better. And it's nice that in the last couple patches, I feel like we have been getting some good Colossal Sword love. So I'm excited to try out some of the new weapons and some of the new attacks. This is quite possibly where you're going to start seeing some of these combos as well. You know, like an R1. Will an R1 connect into some R2 attack? Maybe. We're going to see. It's going to be some Dark Souls 3 Cathedral Knight Greatsword action. If you guys remember, that R1 connecting into that R2 was insane. Decrease the attack speed of normal attacks from crouching position for the backhand blades. Not sure how many people were doing that, but I guess it was enough that like they were taking notice. Small shield and medium shield weapon types. Increase the damage negation of some shields when blocking physical attacks. Increase the guard strength of some shields. I guess that's okay for like smaller and medium shields, since to be honest, you don't see them too often. I guess they're going to be actually come in handy quite a bit whenever you run into somebody like, let's just say somebody's going to be using Rivers of Blood and you like blocking those first two hits, pairing the third R2 spin or the third weapon art spin for that stupid ass Rivers of Blood. That's going to be a lot easier to parry now, so it should be okay. It will now take longer to be able to cancel into most actions after performing one-handed normal attacks with the Swift Spear. Now for this one, I legitimately had to look up what the hell the Swift Spear was, because I've never seen it and or used it, but it must have been an issue at some point. Extended the Smith Script Dagger's throwing attack range, which is really nice. I think that they did go nowhere at all. And this might actually make them a little bit more feasible, although now with the change of Scatter Shot Throw, which generally was probably the best thing to use on it, I still don't know if it's going to be a weapon that's used too much. Increase the attribute scaling of Relana's Twin Blade for lower intelligence and faith attributes, which I think is good. I think her weapon definitely needed that. I think it's a weapon that needs a lot of commitment if you really want to use it and get a lot of damage out of the Ashes of War. So I'm glad they're actually increasing it for whenever you have lower intelligence and faith, meaning that you'll be able to not have to really contribute so much into that to actually get some damage out of them. We also got a buff for her actual talisman. Reduce the delay before the damage enhancement activates, which is good because this was kind of, you know, useless. This is the one wherever you have to hold a stance, you actually get more damage out of the next attack, and it could definitely be useful with a couple of the different stances that you have now. It really wasn't worth it, so I hope that now with this inclusion and also increased damage enhancement, we might start seeing people actually using the weapon art for the Milady, the ones that are intended, and actually seeing them be held and get some good damage out of them. I think this is going to be a great change for like PvE. I think this is going to be something that does a ton of damage to enemies and bosses. We'll see how it works out in PvP. Now I like these two changes as well. Increase attack speed for light, increase attack speed for darkness. This is for the unique weapons that I honestly thought were not great. I made a whole video on both of these weapons where I used both of them. I'll link that in the description actually if people want to go watch that, but they were just so damn slow. It was just not really worth using them. I'm excited now to actually try them and see if maybe that build might come back and be worth using now with the increased attack speed, because they did great damage, especially Darkness did great damage, but it just, because of how slow they were, and especially like being stuck in that animation, not worth using at all. So hopefully these were nice big buffs rather than something like real tiny. Dynastic Sickle Play. Reduce stamina consumption. Increase poise damage of the follow-up heavy attack. Increase the movement distance of the first follow-up heavy attack. Adjusted the damage animation recovery time when the second follow-up heavy attack hits another player. Now that's beautiful. I think Dynastic Sickle Play could be a big, at least Ash of War, that could be really damn good. And it was being held back by basically everything that I had in my mind when I first used this weapon. This is the Ash of War, of course, for Ansbach's weapon. And I thought that it was held back quite a bit. So literally everything that they improved are stuff that needed improvement. I'm definitely going to have to take out the Obsidian Lamina again to see this change, because I think this will be fun. Now we got to change for the Shield Strike. Canceling other actions to perform this weapon art will now take longer. Moon and Fire Stance. Increase the light wave range, poise damage, and attack speed of the stance's normal attack, which is good. Because, man, was that thing so useless and slow. Hopefully this thing actually made it kind of useful. Increased the poise damage of the stance's heavy attack. Adjusted the damage animation recovery time when a stance's heavy attack hits another player. I did recently use these literally yesterday in a video, and I didn't even bother to use at all the light wave because it hits nobody, is so slow, and does very little damage. So maybe we'll have to give these another try. Devonia's Vortex increased the attack power, extended the attack range of the Great Hammer's spin, increased poise values and poise generation speed, adjusted the damage animation recovery time when a charge attack hits another player. Beautiful changes for something that, again, I used fairly recently and I feel was really needed. This thing, first of all, actually did pretty damn good damage when it hit, so I'm kind of curious if it's just gonna obliterate people's health bars now and one-shot people. But it was so slow, and whenever you were spinning, the weapon had very non-existent poise, so this is incredible as well. I would have loved to see an increase in the speed rather than the damage, if I'm being completely honest, especially when you charge it all the way. But overall, I'm not going to complain about a good buff for Devonia's Vortex. Some spell changes. Relana's Twin Moons increased attack range for the first and second attack, reduced the knockback distance of the second attack, which is cool. Incantations. All the aspects were buffed. Aspects of Crucible Thorns, increased attack power, stamina attack power against guarding enemies. The close range hitbox now follows the movement of the player. You don't really see this much, and there was actually some people that I saw that were doing like 4 runs with the Crucible Thorns, which now they're going to see this and be like, fuck, I should have waited. Aspects of Crucible Bloom, increased attack speed, increased size of hitbox, shorten recovery time between using this incantation and follow-up actions. Divine Bird Feathers. Now this shit, ain't no way they didn't give it at least 1,000 damage, right? Decrease the minimum delay between consecutive hits. Increase range. Where's the increased damage, dude? I was getting 3 no joke. I think I hit somebody for 13 damage, hitting them with a charged version of the Divine Bird Feathers. Furious Blade of Ansbach. Canceling this incantation into rolls now will take less time. Increase poise damage, increase enemy knockback distance. I actually have kind of wanted to try this out as an incantation. Not sure how good it was pre-patch, but hey, buff now. Midra's Flame of Frenzy. Increase attack speed, increase frenzy status buildup range against enemies, decreased frenzy status buildup when using this skill. So that's pretty cool. I don't think I've seen this used really at all against me and or on another host or even on like enemies. I guess Madness really doesn't do shit to enemies. So at the end of the day, this is going to be a nice change for the PvP side of it as well. If people want to try it, I might try it myself because I've never tried it out. Bale's Flame Lightning, increase attack power, which is good because I have heard that Bale's incantations were pretty not so great. And then we have tons of bug fixes that I don't know if it's really worth going over them, but I'll slowly go over all of them if anybody wants to pause. From the looks of it, it seems to be kind of basic stuff. Fixed the bug where some attacks of the Lizard Greatsword weren't registered at strike distance. Fixed the bug where whiffed backstabs with the paddle weapons had a smaller fist hitbox than intended. You know, just a couple stuff here and there. Nothing too crazy, but overall, pretty damn good patch. A lot of great changes. I love the changes to the Ultra Greatswords. I love the changes to like Ansbach's Ash of War. Same goes for Relana's Ash of War. I like the fact that they're trying to maybe bring a couple of the DLC stuff into the meta, even though the DLC stuff is very strong. But I love the changes to some of the movesets, especially for the the hand-to-hand combat. I think those weapons needed more love because they're good, but severely lacking, especially with the light attacks being so weak compared to the Arc 2 attacks. It's very rarely ever worth using them. But some great changes here. I think it should be interesting to see how this changes up a lot of the like meta for PvP in the next coming days. And again, I feel like people are going to be finding out some crazy ass combos with some of these weapons. I'm going to definitely try out some of the colossal weapons and see if we could find any good like R1 into R2 combos, because I think there's going to be quite a few. But either way, that is the 1.14 patch for the Elden Ring DLC, and maybe one of the final patches that we might see for Elden Ring. Because listen, we're coming close now to the end of the life cycle. I bet. I feel like starting like next year, it might be a little bit slow on some of these patches. So let's enjoy them while we can. But I appreciate it if anybody made it this far. Leave a like if you did. It really helps out the video and the channel, and I appreciate it very much. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye, everybody.